All right, this is the final chapter of the book, Your Oxygen Mask First, chapter 17. And this chapter is all about planning, 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 and replanning so that you hit your goals and enjoy the ride. As you can see in the picture on the slide, we have these goals of where we want to get to in these great plans. But of course, that's not how it happens. We end up here and there and everywhere. And all we need to do is continually recalibrate once every quarter and we'll get to our goals. The question in the chapter is, how disciplined are you about planning and regularly replanning for your work, self, and life in terms of what you want to achieve? Most people in business have clear goals and objectives in their company. If you don't, maybe you should start with that. But if you do have that, where we often fail is our plans for ourself and our life. And that's why I created the master plan. Even when you do have a great plan, as we talked about a second ago, sometimes things go sideways. And as Mike Tyson, the great philosopher, says, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. So you can be going along and life throws you a curveball, and again, you got to reset or rethink your plans. And that's why you can start with a plan, but then every quarter you got to refocus. The key point of this chapter, and really the key point that I have in my life as a coach to senior leaders and CEOs, is that you got to have a simple, all-encompassing, simple plan, ideally on a page. And in this case, the master plan for your work, yourself, and your life. You know you need to work on this if logic just tells you you should. And you should have an integrated plan that pulls it all together. But even more so, you might have elaborate, long-winded plans, but you don't reference them very often. Or you're not consistently achieving the goals you envision. Or you get sidetracked by sudden inspirations. Or you consistently overachieve in one area, likely at work, but you underachieve or sacrifice too much in terms of self and life. On the screen, you can see the master plan tool. It is extremely simple, but yet it integrates everything that matters to you in one spot and allows you to recalibrate. The way it works at the end of the year, you go and do the tool on the left, which is called the annual review, where you answer a bunch of questions about the three categories of your life, work, self, and life, and how things went, with some ideas of what might make this year better. And then you switch over to the master plan and you reset your plan for your life. Across the top, you'll find three things. One, what are your guiding values? So if you've thought about core values and values you live by, those will go there. Number two is your sweet spot, which we talked about earlier in the book, which is the place where you absolutely thrive and do your best work. And finally, number three is the things that you won't do or tolerate. And this taps back into the principles of teaching people how to meet your standards. So those are overarching principles. Then you get into three different time frames. You get into the ultimate in your lifetime, what you want to achieve to be twice as good in the next 3 to 5 years, and the next year. And there's an exercise that walks you through what you want to do in each of work, self, and life. But this is the master page. It pulls it all together. It's super important that you get this sorted. It's also a great activity to do with your family members or people close to you to make sure you're all aligned around what matters for your family. If we go back to the principles that we shared in the intro to the book, the key with this master plan is to taking into account work, self, and life and making sure that you always do the things you need to do for yourself because you're the thing that holds it all together. You're the glue. You're the structure. And if you don't get what you need for yourself, the rest is just going to fall apart. Then there's the quarterly reset. Every 90 days, you go back and do the page on the left where you reflect on the quarter. Hey, how did it go? What would make it better in each of those three categories, work, self, and life? And then you have a new plan for the quarter. Hey, how much passion do I want to allocate to work, self, and life? What's my number one goal in each of those areas? If you dare be so bold, you might have your second and third goal in each area. And then after that, we go and take a look at the toads that might be building up, the habit that you want to start, which is likely one of the habits out of this book, what you want to stop, and then there's a room for the action plan to do what you need to do to move forward. These tools are actually quite simple. It's a matter of making the time and making a priority to go and sit and look at what really matters in those three areas and making sure that when you look at your master plan, at the end of your life, you're not going to be saying woulda, coulda, shoulda. You're going to be saying been there, done that, and I'm thrilled with how I lived. On a quarterly basis, it's the same thing. It's about being clear that if this is what I accomplish this quarter, forgetting everything else that may or may not happen, if I accomplish these things this quarter, I'm going to feel very good about how I've lived my life in every aspect of life. So the challenge I have for you is to draft your master plan and your plan for the next quarter. You can download the tools at lawrenceandco.com in the books section. Download them, spend some time, think about it, run it by a friend, run it by a family member, and making sure that it all makes sense. At the end of the day, the most important things should be on your plan. And don't worry, all the other random things will continue to show up. But we need to stay focused on the biggest opportunities to make your life great, your work great, and for you to feel great about who you are too. All right, so there you have it. We're at the end of chapter 17. We've reviewed all 17 of the habits. So my recommendation, if you haven't already, go read the book. Read Your Oxygen Mask first and dig into the sections or chapters that will really make the biggest impact. Going forward, every 90 days, once you go back to reset your quarterly plan, just scan the 17 habits and look for the one that you think would actually give you the biggest impact or might help you with one of the challenging situations that you're in. So as I said at the very beginning, these tools are not rocket science. They're actually quite simple. But these 17 habits are things that usually come up in my conversations with CEOs and executives as the things that would help them solve the situations that are holding them back. Keep growing, keep learning, keep thriving. All the best.